But if you think of it in the sense that if you just had 3 Oreo cookies, you would have more fat and way less volume than you're getting in this. Welcome back to the Anabolic Hub, where we make anabolic deliciousness. We're back inside my kitchen today and we're doing another original recipe. If you've ever had Oreos before, you know how tempting they can be. You can quite easily eat an entire row or more in a single sitting in a matter of minutes. Trust me, I've been there, I've done that. The problem with this delicious little cookie is that it is a delicious little cookie that gets eaten really fast and we can't stop. The only way that we can solve this problem is if we find a way to add more volume to an Oreo cookie. Now, it's been attempted to replicate an Oreo cookie in an anabolic fashion. It's always a little underwhelming, to say the least. So what we're gonna do is we're going to take an original Oreo cookie and we are going to dress it up. We are going to make an Ultra Mega Stuffed Oreo cookie. This is going to be something that's going to give you the flavor of an Oreo, but it's also going to give you the volume that belongs in an anabolic recipe. So with no further ado, let's get things started by having a look at the ingredients. Here we go. Regular, or in my case, gluten-free regular Oreos. Homemade oat flour. Cookies and cream whey casein blend. Swerve confectioners. Vanilla-based casein protein powder, dark cocoa powder, baking powder, baking soda. The one ingredient to rule them all, salt. Unsweetened almond milk, plain non-fat Greek yogurt, vanilla extract. And almost as if on cue, a huge thunderstorm comes rolling through just as I start recording. Either way, this is going to be another one of those magical recipes where we're mixing together some dry ingredients, we're mixing together some wet ingredients, and we're combining the two for some anabolic deliciousness. So let's get things started here by mixing together our dry ingredients first. The first dry ingredient is going to be 20 grams of our oat flour. If you don't have oat flour, that's okay. It's very simple to make at home. All you need is oatmeal. You measure out the amount that you need. You put it in a blender. You grind it up. You take it out. You have oat flour. 20 grams of it going in here. Next, we need 10 grams of our cookies and cream whey casein blend. Then 8 grams of your Swerve confectioners. Then it's 7 grams of your vanilla-based casein protein powder. Who wants to tell me in the comment section why we're using casein protein powder and not whey? Go ahead, you can type it. We'll wait. Not really. 7 grams going in. Then we need 5 grams of your dark cocoa powder. This brand here that I'll link in the description box below works the best for any Oreo type recipe. I've been experimenting with it and it gives an authentic Oreo flavor, so I highly recommend you use this. The Hershey's dark cocoa powder works okay too, but this is so much better. We're going to be putting in 5 grams of it right here. Then we need 1 gram of baking powder, not baking soda, baking powder, but we'll get to the baking soda in a second. And as mentioned, next up we'll be using 1 gram of our baking soda. Then you need just a pinch, or in this case, a quarter turn of our salt. And once you have all of those dry ingredients in there, we're gonna mix or sift them all together. Don't sleep on the sifting, especially when you're using baking powder and baking soda. You want to make sure all of it gets dispersed evenly amongst all of your dry ingredients. Dry ingredients are now done. Let's move on to the wet ingredients. So I just wanted to break in real quick here to remind you to smash the like button. Consider subscribing if you're not subscribed. My goal this year has been to get to 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Looks like it's going to be close, so I appreciate any help you can give me on the road to 10K here. And why don't you tell me, if you can't have Oreos just as Oreos, how would you have them? I'll go first. I like Oreo ice cream myself. Okay, let's get back to the video. Our first wet ingredient is going to be 40 grams of your plain non-fat Greek yogurt, negative scale measuring system. And with that little bit there left on the spoon, we have 40 grams of the plain non-fat Greek yogurt, exactly. Next, we need 1 gram of the vanilla extract. Our last wet ingredient is going to be almond milk. It's going to greatly depend on the brand of protein powder that you used. If you use the same exact ones that I did, it's going to take 25 grams. If you use something different, I recommend putting in a little bit less just to see how it mixes up. You can always add more, but you can't take any out. Here we're gonna be putting in 25 grams. Really fought me for that last gram, but we got it all in, 25 grams on the money. And it's not gonna look like much, but with those 3 wet ingredients in there, we just wanna give them a quick mix. And once you have a little bit of disbursement amongst your wet ingredients, it's time to add in your dry ingredients, which we'll do in 3 small, separate batches. Batch number 1. Batch number 2. And of course, batch number 3. And once you have this type of consistency here, you know you are good to go. It is time to head over to our cookie sheet that we will line with some parchment paper and start forming out our cookies. And if you're like me and you want to save your parchment paper, you don't need to cover the whole cookie sheet with it. Just cut out enough so you're able to put 2 cookies right on the parchment paper. This size here is going to be perfect. Next step is to measure out half of the dough and form our first cookie here, and then measure out the second half, which will be whatever's left over, and put it right here. If you use the same ingredients that I did, you should have about 100 grams total, maybe a little bit more. So I'm gonna take out just over 50 grams of the batter and start my first cookie here, and then take out the rest and start number 2. Let's get it going. Now that we have our 2 balls of dough, we can start forming out our 2 cookies. This dough is super sticky, so I highly recommend you dip your fingertips into some water before you start the formation process. If you don't, it's gonna get stuck all over your fingertips, the struggle's gonna be real, and you're gonna go crazy. So I'm dipping my fingertips into the water, and we're forming the cookies. And once you've formed out your 2 cookies, you should have something that looks like this. Next step is to get these baking in the oven, which we've preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius. We're going to bake them for 10 minutes. If you're going to use the air fryer, you can put it on 325 degrees Fahrenheit or 160 degrees Celsius for about 5 to 8 minutes. Of course, each way, checking them along the way. So, with no further ado, let's get these in the oven. While our cookies finish baking up, we're gonna get going on our cream filling because as we know, you cannot have anything Oreo without a cream filling. We're gonna get things started here by adding in 8 grams of our Swerve confectioners. Then 5 grams of our cookies and cream whey casein blend. Then 4 grams of our vanilla-based casein protein powder. And for the combination of those protein powders, you're gonna need 10 grams of the unsweetened almond milk. Then you wanna mix all that up. If you need to, add a couple grams more of the almond milk. And then 3 or 4 drops of your vanilla extract. Give that a good mix. And once you have your Oreo type frosting consistency, you know that you are done. Now it's time to wait for our cookies to finish baking, cool off, and we'll put it all together. Just took the cookies out of the oven after exactly 10 minutes. They are a little inflated as all of our anabolic baked goods do. We're gonna wait about 5 to 10 minutes to let these cool off completely. Then we're gonna add in our center goodness and take it over to the taste test table. Now that our cookies have cooled, last final steps here, we're gonna be putting on our cream filling that we just made. Next, we have to put in our 2 regular Oreos. Mine are gluten-free. Yours don't have to be. You can just use the regular ones. No problem there. What we have to do is break these up so that they are well dispersed amongst the entire cookie. Now what I like to try to do is get half the frosting on each half of the cookie. That one broke in half, but that's okay. I'm gonna put that right up over there. Now we're gonna put this one right there. Same thing here. I'm gonna take half of our frosting off the cookie, spread it on there, and try to make sure you get your frosting evenly dispersed. Then you take your second piece and you put it right on top, and you have yourself a dressed up Ultra Mega Stuffed Oreo cookie. Let's get this over to you know where so we can try it out. And we're back at the taste test table yet again to try another anabolic delicious recipe. Here we are dressing up some Oreos. We know, as I said before, that Oreos are not the most filling snack. In fact, we've all been there. We've closed our eyes, we've opened them, and it looks like a row of the package has magically disappeared. But if we're being honest with ourselves, we know that it hasn't because we just ate it in probably less than 5 minutes. In this case here, we're trying to make it so that's not a problem by satisfying that Oreo craving in a big cookie form with our Ultra Mega Stuffed Anabolic Oreo cookie. So much filling in this, so much anabolic deliciousness in this. It is loaded with protein, gonna help you feel full. Let's get the taste test started with no further ado. I've digressed enough. First bite, best bite, every time with this one. Here we go. Two-hander. There's just something about using authentic Oreos in a recipe, whether it's a protein ice cream or something like this. It's a flavor that just cannot be replicated. I know many have tried. It's just not possible to get that Oreo flavor without using actual Oreos. Anything that's labeled cookies and cream never tastes like an Oreo. The only thing that tastes like an Oreo is an Oreo. That's why I didn't say we were making a big Oreo cookie. I said we were dressing up regular Oreos in this nice little anabolic deliciousness outfit here. This is going to add volume and give you that same Oreo flavor and taste that you love. Instead of eating a sleeve of the Oreos, you can end up only having 2 dressed up in this anabolic, keep you on track, loaded with protein cookie outfit. Now obviously the crunch that you get comes from the Oreo cookies themselves. The cookies that we made themselves are more of a soft type cookie, and you want to really make sure you don't over bake them. If you do, they come out way too cakey, so definitely watch the clock. You don't want these in for a second too long. But when you combine the cream filling with the Oreos already in there and the flavors in the cookie, it's like you're having a huge Oreo. The only difference being, when we look at the macros in a couple minutes, you're gonna see that this is a great way to get in a lot of protein and still enjoy that Oreo flavor like no other way that's been done before. Oreos are one of those kind of flavors where you really can't beat them, so you may as well join them. So rather than trying to replicate an Oreo cookie flavor from scratch, why not just dress up the real thing, add some volume around it. You can enjoy the Oreo, get in your protein still, and kill that craving so that you don't eat an entire sleeve. It keeps you on track with your fitness goals, moving in the right direction, on to the next meal, no problem, no binging, no overeating, just satisfaction and Oreo anabolic deliciousness. The cream filling that we put in the center actually brings out more flavor in the Oreo, so you feel like it's actually a bigger Oreo even though it's just 2 in half spread across the cookie. You get a little bit of that sweetness with the filling, and it feels like you're having the real thing in a larger form. Because we're using a whey casein blend, and we did put a little bit of casein in there, but because we're using a blend of whey and casein, it's not a very dense cookie. It's actually pretty light, but the volume is big. It's going to get in your stomach and make you feel fuller than you probably should be for having only 2 Oreos. In my opinion, the only way to enjoy Oreos in their original form without putting them into some kind of protein ice cream is to do it like this, where you still are using the actual Oreo, you're dressing it up a little bit, making it anabolic. You can still enjoy the true flavor that's going to kill that craving. I'm calling it right now, this is the new Oreo craving killer. I'm not even joking. This is what's going to get it done. If you struggle with Oreos, binging on them, having too many, more than you should, killing a whole row, killing a whole package, this is your answer right here. The volume's on point, the flavor's on point, the protein count is on point. I'll flash up the macros here so we can see exactly what's in it. As you can see, loaded in protein, just as promised. It's going to be something that's going to carry you through with minimal calories, not going to be a lot of fat. The fat is all obviously coming from the Oreos, but if you think of it in the sense that if you just had 3 Oreo cookies, you would have more fat and way less volume than you're getting in this. But it's getting to be about that time. I got to get up out of here, so I'll see you in the next one. Bye.